What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Wednesday, April 10th. All right, guys, Palantir stock here today down 19 cents a share. That's minus 0.83%. Let's take a look at this thing and pull out as much as we possibly can, as much bias as we possibly can if the market is giving us that's not immediately obvious. Let's do so in like 10 minutes or less. Ready? Let's start with a quick volume profile analysis to try to pull out some bias under the hood on the 5-minute chart. Listen, guys, by the way, Palantir is a daily upload now here on the Roensch Capital Charts channel. It hits every single day at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's every day the market is open, that is. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Helps out tremendously, and I'll keep the Palantir videos coming here. Moves that I primarily want to look at here on the 5-minute chart in terms of volume profile. This kind of dip, recovery, and dip, I suppose we'll call that, into the intraday low. I want to look at that move on the volume profile, and then this little bit of a pop that we got into the close we'll also take a quick look at. If we pull up the volume profile here, we get a very contextual open with a high volume open. We know that. And then a quick fade. That's very normal. On this downside break off of like that $23 region, we got 5 elevated volume red candles in a row. That's pretty bearish bias. Listen, into the intraday low, that is a very obvious bearish bias. We have to stay unbiased here when we're doing the analysis. Otherwise, what are we doing? Right? We're just wasting time. That is a bearish bias. So understand, bulls, that the bears are going to look at that and say, if you're hanging out in chat rooms tonight or, you know, the free Roensch Capital Discord, whatever, if you see anyone at all, really any bear talking about the Palantir volume today, you're likely to see them mention this break off 23 on bearish bias. Okay, just understand that's going to get some bears excited. They like to see that. However, then heading into the close, we got a little bit of a dip again, and then we kind of pumped a little bit, you know, like 20 cents or so into the close. And, you know, we got a little bit of increasing volume, guys. I can't call this as obvious bullish bias as we saw back here because we expect volume to increase into the close, but we got quite a few consecutive green candles broken up by like one doji and one small low volume red candle. There is a little bit of bullish bias obviously heading into the close, but the bearish bias back here was a bit more obvious to be honest. Now, let's move on to the psychological levels, the self-fulfilling prophecy levels that we have to pay attention to heading into tomorrow here, starting on the heavily watched 30-minute chart. Again, you'll notice it's very clean. All I'm interested in here is the psychology. So I have the 50-period moving average and the 200-period moving averages, and that's it. Some volume, that's all. Now, if you guys remember yesterday's analysis video here, we had reclaimed both of these moving averages, and we were sitting above them. Into the close, it was tight, though. Well, today we gave up the 50 here on the 30-minute. We broke down hard. Tried to give up the 200, but the bears said, nope, we're not going to let that happen, and reclaimed it just barely into the close. Listen, if you're a bear on this stock currently, you want to give up the 200 period and be below both of these here on the 30-minute while they both start to suck downside into a descending formation. And then you want the stock to reject off of whichever one is lower, which is likely to be the 50 period as that crosses downside, right, in that scenario. And then you have kind of a descending area of resistance. But if you're a bull, a reclaim of both of those to get that equal scenario, however, in an ascending pattern to the upside is what you want to see. Okay, we started to form that here yesterday. Unable to hold it here today. Again, it was just a first day break. First day breaks are notoriously unreliable. So we were keeping a close eye on that. But remember, you know, keep in mind, we're close. This isn't far away. We're less than 0.6% away from reclaiming the 50 period. And then we're back on top of both, okay? Bulls, a reclaim of that on high volume, and then a low volume retest, and then boom, a high volume bounce confirmation. That's your ideal scenario to get this thing back where it needs to be on the 30-minute. And the 30-minute can change quick. That's the benefit of the 30-minute. It can change drastically day by day. All right, let's move on here to the 4-hour and see where we stand. We're still sitting below both. Okay, the 50 period is in a descending formation, and we're more focused on this level, which we'll talk about here in a second. But what I'm paying attention to here, aside from 23, again, we'll get to that here in a second, that 50 period sitting right above 23.25. My short-term goal here as a bull is to reclaim the 50 period, and then we can look to utilize the 50 period as kind of a trampoline to start pushing us up toward that gray line, which is the 200 period here on the 4-hour chart. Bears, ideally, you guys want this thing to stay around or below 23 long enough to get this 50 period on the 4-hour to cross at or below 23 to start beefing up that level as a resistance. Okay, bulls, we don't want to see that. We want to reclaim that prior to that occurring and change the direction of that 50 period ASAP. All right, now the big story here on Palantir, the daily. All right, the daily is very much so in play. Guys, what's the obvious story here? It's really, really obvious, and that's what we're interested in because we're interested in the psychology. First of all, the story is 23 bucks a share, but do you see that white line there? That's also the 50-day moving average. Bears, if you guys can hold and reject, it's not a good sign if you're a bear that the 50 period is moving higher above 23 because the more that pulls away to the upside, the less beefed up 23 becomes, and it kind of separates into two separate resistance levels. Okay, so, it becomes inherently less likely that you're able to hold off 23 if you have less of a beefed up level if you're a bear. But bears, a break downside holding beneath 23, again, we can only go day by day here. So tomorrow, kind of another rejection off 23 just is your best case scenario to start to try to flatten out that 50-day day by day. Understanding, though, that the 50-day on the daily, right, the 50 period on the daily is a slower moving average. It's just a longer moving average. But bulls, that being above 23 offers an opportunity. If we can not only reclaim 23 bucks a share, but also get above the 50-day moving average and hold while also maintaining that ascending pattern, that's a really good thing to see. But listen, for the last week or so, we have been unable to do that. So if I'm a bull, that's my number one priority right now on the stock, is to get above both 23 and the 50-day and hold above that. All right, implied volatility currently is sitting, depending on how you're looking, if you're looking at the last 1 to 2 months, it's a bit high. If you're looking in comparison to the last few months, it's in the mid to high range, okay? Again, higher IV goes if you're buying new contracts. It's a higher potential risk of IV crush. If you're holding contracts, though, you want IV higher because that benefits you through a little bit of IV pump, a little bit of Vega pump. Now, let's take a look at the expected move out of the chain. Okay, this is a technical term. It's priced into each contract expiration. The expected move on the next expiration we have, which is Friday at the close, by then, the market expects plus or minus 87 cents per share. Now, we have 3 trading days between now and then, and no earnings events or anything, any outsized event on one particular day. So we divide by each trading day. It gives us approximately plus or minus 29 cents per share per day. However, I like to add 50% to that because the previous number assumes 3 green days or 3 red days. So that gives us a market expectation of about 43 cents plus or minus of movement per day. Okay, well, tomorrow, because that's going to change each day. Okay, so we're starting to get enough information to be able to form our own directional bias, right? The volume profile, all the technical, all the psychological levels. Now, the expected move, guys, by design, there's no directional bias. So we have to pull that elsewhere. But that gives us the volatility expectation from the market. And then whether we agree with that or think it'll be more or less helps us position ourselves much more effectively to, especially if we're options traders, to try to profit off of, not only the directional move, but also the change in what is realized volatility versus what was expected volatility at the time that we opened that position. Last thing we can do here, more directional bias. But what are the options traders saying about directional bias here in Palantir today? Literally, this is all from today. 173,000 total contracts traded today. 108,000 of those were calls. 65,000 of those were puts. So in typical Palantir fashion, we're seeing an overall call side bias here. But look at this. If we break this down by the short-term speculators, the 0 to 20 delta range, more than double call side bias. 43,000 calls in that range, 19,000 puts. That's what the traders are telling us here today. Hey, if you guys get value out of these videos, again, leave a like, leave a comment on the way out. By the way, every day at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the wild card stock of the day gets uploaded, so be sure to vote. Leave the ticker down below. Palantir is a daily upload. Okay, so Palantir is coming regardless every single day, so hope to see you subscribe to the channel for that, but leave your vote for the wild card stock. I'll tally up the votes every single day, and then cover that at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time each day, whichever one wins. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.